Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Germany, tasting not really rare or exotic whiskey, but it's new. Old Overholt, bottled and bond, straight rye whiskey. Born in PA, Pennsylvania, made in KY, Kentucky. Yay! So, a tiny little bit to the history, first of all. This costs 47 euros 90 over here. Just hit the market in Germany. It's been on the market in America now since 2017. So that's at least my information there. All right, very, very good. And what am I going to compare it to? Of course, I'm going to compare it, first of all, to the normal Overholt. 27 euros. I do have the 1 liter bottle. 27 euros 90 is actually the price. It was the price for the 0.7 liter. And what else am I going to compare it to at the middle of my video? I'm going to pull out the real contender here, and that is Rittenhouse from Heaven Hill. These are both Jim Beam products. This is 32, 34 euros, so 15 euros less. In America, there's about a $6 difference. Over here, 15, that's a lot. All right, so what do we have here? We have a man named Henry Oberholzer. It was anglicized into Overholt, and he was a German Mennonite farmer back there in West Overton, Pennsylvania, on the banks of the Jacobs Creek in Western Pennsylvania. So I was born in Western Pennsylvania. I grew up in Western Pennsylvania until I moved as a teenager down to Richmond, Virginia. So, and apparently his family came from an area in Germany which specialized in corn, Korn. Now, corn is actually just German vodka. And actually, it's in the northern part of Germany. That's where they have that. And they do not use rye to make it. They use wheat to make it. So apparently, he didn't have the wheat that he wanted. So he started using rye. And ta-da, this was Ben born. Now, in 1810, Henry's son, Abraham Overholt, took over the management of the distillery and made it into a business. Before that, he was a farmer, and what did farmers do? They took the excess crop that they had and they distilled it, and they could keep it, sell it, trade it, and so on. All right, so by the 1820s, the distillery was putting out between 12 and 15 gallons of rye whiskey per day. So that's 50 to 60 liters a day. Not bad, not bad. And Abraham grew the business rapidly, and by 1843, there was actually an advertisement in a Baltimore newspaper. So think Pittsburgh, think Erie, PA, Western Pennsylvania, all the way over to Baltimore, 200 miles maybe, about. And there was an advertisement for Overholt's Old Rye, one of the very, very few distilleries that actually advertise by name anywhere. This is way before Old Forester can lay claim to anything. All right, so this is basically the oldest branded product, Old Overholt, in the U.S. for any type of whiskey. All right, so by 1859, Overholt incorporated his business into Abraham Overholt, his dad. Oh, by the way, Abraham here on the bottle. And he operated out of a new distillery building, 6 stories high. Wow. 100 feet long, and they were producing about 860 gallons. That's over 3,000, almost 3,500 liters of alcohol per day, which is not bad, to be honest. Think of all the rye they had to take in there. Now, we have no information about this mash bill. I have no information about the old mash bill either. So were they using 100% rye with enzymes? Probably not. Were they using a mixture of rye, corn, and also then malted barley? Probably. Now, the question is, back then, 1810, 1860s, did they actually have the law that has to be 51% rye? No. So was it only a high rye mash bill? I don't know. All right, so in 1881, Abraham's grandson, now that is actually then Henry. We have Abraham, Henry, and then the Henry Clay Frick took over the business, and he was one of the country's wealthiest people. And his distillery was a side business for him, right? So he took on Andrew Mellon, Carnegie Mellon College or University in Pittsburgh, and also Charles W. Malk as his partners, and they each owned 1/3 of the business. And in 1888, Mock adapted the business, the name Old Overholt, as the official name of the company, and added here Abraham's picture. So very, very good. And by 1900, Old Overholt became a national brand. All right, it was one of the most largest and respected whiskeys in the country in the early years of the 20th century, and then Prohibition came. Ba 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 ba. Okay, very, very good. So let's try the two of them. I'm going to smell the first one, the 40% here. By the way, both of these have screw tops, so if you're expecting wonderful cork pull-ups, no. And even the Rittenhouse screw top. I remember the first time, I think it was a Weller or something, I had a screw top, and it was like, Johnny Drum, private stock, screw top. Yes. Go for it. I like screw tops. I have no problem whatsoever. I just want to mention that because some people are like, oh, I want the experience of the plop of the cork. On the nose, the rye is not overly present. Now, can someone please tell me what is the difference between these two? This is a product made in Claremont, Kentucky. It is Jim Beam rye. This is a product made in Claremont, Kentucky, and it's rye. We don't know if it's undisclosed mash bill. I'm going to say 52%. It could be only 51% rye. They're basically the same mash bill, aren't they? Or what are the differences? Is it maybe with the storage? Is it just the packaging? Is it just the label? I don't know. This, of course, belongs to the Jim Beam brand, and this, of course, belongs back to the old historic brand that they bought back then in 1987? So 1987, Old Overholt was sold to the James B. Beam Distilling Company, back then a subsidiary of American Brands, which moved production to Kentucky. Up until that point, it actually was made all the way until that time in Pennsylvania. And then later on, Jim Beam was acquired by Suntory. That's why it's Beam Suntory. In this case, not Suntory Beam. Over here, the bottled and bond. I get more of the brown sugars. I get more of the vanilla. I get more of the alcohol. I get a little bit more of the rye. It's just like as if the volume's turned up a little bit, from 4 to 5. No 8, no 7. It's 4 to 5. As I said, 27 euros, 47 euros. Am I going to really pay 20 euros more for this whiskey? All right. Is the 10%, the 20 proof points more, actually. Now, straight whiskey is not the same thing as single malt. So straight whiskey could actually be produced at different places in Kentucky, all mixed together and still be called straight. Bottled and bond, no. 1897, one distillery, one distiller, one distiller seasons, at least 4 years old in a bonded warehouse, and exactly 50% proof. Not more, not less. So it's very, very important that we cherish, that we honor, that we respect, and that we actually celebrate that we have the Bottle and Bond Act. If you want great stuff, go for this. Now, over here, in one of the articles I read, they compared also the Old Overholt here to a New Riff. So I was on the breakingbourbon.com. Now, the problem with New Riff is, well, I imported over here, so I am with my partners from N10 Bourbon. Together, I am the importer here for Germany, so I don't want to talk about that. I'm a little bit biased, and in many, many markets in the U.S., it's still not available. So we can get this in Germany, but often places in the U.S. can't. So it's difficult to compare the two with each other. So that's why I went for these two first of all, and then I'm moving up to the Rittenhouse. Cheers. I like the nose. On the palate, I get a little bit of a bitter moment. It's almost like a concentrated type of a licorice moment going on here. There's a little bit of Holtz, sorry, it's German, a little bit of wood bitters. I'm not a great fan of bitterness, and so this is not really moving up my alley. Nice little rye pepper moment going in the background here. This is a very, I'm going to use the word easy sipper, nice drink, well done, old-fashioned style whiskey. Nice. Absolutely. Can I recommend it? Yes. So, This, on the other hand, the 50% bottled and bond, I do get a little bit more of alcohol, as I said. The rye is there, but it's not overwhelming. Yeah, don't forget, we have 95% unmalted rye, 5% malted rye here. Here we have, I'm guessing, 52% rye. Yeah, 10% malted barley, and that makes it maybe 35% corn. There's a lot more. It almost tastes a little bit like a high rye bourbon instead of a straight rye. Straight rye, bottled and bond rye. Cheers. Mm. Even here, it's just turning up the volume. Here's a 4, here's a 5. There's a little bit more alcohol than 50%. There's still a solid sweetness here. A lot of that bitterness is gone, but I still have a tiny, tiny little bit of a, I'm going to call it licorice moment going on there. This is, and it says proudly here, non-chilled filtered, so they did recognize the sign of the times. Here, I don't have any mention whatsoever of non-chilled filtered. It's 40%, of course not. Now, very funny is this label actually does not meet the requirements of European Union. Nowhere on the label does it have the amount of liquid in it. Now, this is an import from the US, and I really, really had to look, and I really had to look twice before I found here. Do you see this? That says 750 milliliters. Very, very small, very, very on the side. That's not allowed. There's actually rules in Europe that says how a label should be for spirits. And it has to be on the front. It has to be a certain size so you can actually see it. And nowhere on here do you have any mention whatsoever of the size of the bottle. And by the way, 700 milliliter is the standard bottle size in Germany, or sorry, European Union. And this is 750. So this was imported directly from the States. It did make it over here, and that's why I'm paying a premium. In the States, this goes for the MSRP $24, and I'm paying 47 euros. All right, very, very good. So I'm going to get rid of this bottle now because comparing the two of them, this will always win. Value for money, this wins in Germany. Taste, this wins. But can it beat this? Can it beat the Heaven Hill product? So, 50%, 50%, bottle and bond, 4 years, 4 years, rye. Here, 47 euros, here, 32 euros. So 15 euros less. I actually did a list. YouTubers know at the moment, YouTube loves lists. So I made a list. I made a list of the top 10 ryes in German available in 2020 under 40 euros. And I'm going to read my list from the bottom to the top. All right, so at the very bottom, at position number 10, I had Templeton Rye, 6-year-old, 45.8%. Number 9, I had Rebel Yell, small batch rye with 45%. Number 8, I had Jack Daniel's Rye, not single barrel, with 45% for 25 euros 90. It's not bad for the price, but if you're going to buy a rye from Jack Daniel's, buy the single barrel. So then I had here on position number 7, I had the Old Overholt. On position number 6, I had the Jim Beam Rye. So my fans and I, we like this a tad bitter than that, but they're basically the same. So then we had the Bullet 95 Rye, the standard, which I'm not going to get. Then we had the Wild Turkey 101 Rye, basically because of it being a well-known brand. Then we had the Woodford Reserve Rye, we had the Knob Creek Rye, and what was the winner? Ding, 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 Rittenhouse. I personally believe there is not a better rye out there in Germany available at the moment for under 40 euros that is not called Rittenhouse. So am I a little bit biased towards Rittenhouse in this moment? Yes. Do I think Rittenhouse is one of the best ryes out there for value for money? Yes. This costs about almost 10 euros less over here. So this might be the best value for money, the Jim Beam Rye. It's a good rye. It's a good starter. It's not too much. It's cheap. It's available. It's everywhere. It's even some supermarkets. Why not? Get this. You have to go online often to find that. And to get the old Overhold, you really have to go online. They don't understand how to promote that at all over here in Europe. All right, so we're going to compare the two of these. As I said, 47 in my book, in my German country, and this then 32. All right, so I'm going to add a tiny, tiny bit more here. Color. Which one has a darker color? I really can't tell any difference whatsoever. They look the same. Both of these are basically a minimum of 4 years old. Both of these are 50%. On the nose, the Rittenhouse is okay. The old Overholt is better. Why is it better? There is more sweetness involved. There is more rye. There's a tiny, tiny little bit more of a vanilla moment coming through. This, everything is there, but it's just actually, I'm going to use my volume dial again, turn down a tiny little bit. This wins amazingly. I did not expect it on the nose. But wait, there's the palate. On the palate, though, the Rittenhouse, There's an explosion of flavor. There's the rye. I tried to describe it like this. Imagine you had a piece of rye bread. Yeah, so you have rye and pastrami, for example. Imagine rye. You take some nice butter and you sprinkle you sprinkle sugar on it. And you eat the sugared rye bread. That's what this is. This has an amazing amount of sweetness. And that rye pepper moment keeps on going and going and going. And it's just an echo. It just keeps on. That aftertaste is amazingly good. The 50%, perfectly balanced. No alcohol too much, no thinness of flavor. Beautifully balanced, beautifully made. Heaven Hill, I think you have a winner chicken dinner here. All right, the nose was a little bit better here, but the palate is fabulous. Now, as comparison, the old Overhold, tiny little bit of cleansing. There is a nice mouthfeel. It does feel chewier, thicker. There is a little bit of that, I'm going to call it burnt licorice. And the problem is that burnt licorice moment, my interpretation of those tasting notes here, expands in the finish. This, the sweetness and the rye and the wonderfulness expands. And here, everything I don't like about it actually expands more and more. So this is not my favorite rye whiskey. Is it okay? Yes. So it says here, I'm reading now from the Whiskey Wash. They actually received a sample way back when. When I say fiery, I mean it. This is not what I consider a slow sipper. I got the pithiness of the white of a lemon and a spice that hits the back of the throat and lingers. There isn't much subtlety to this or in this rye. So on the nose, there's a burn here, almost from medicine at the first smell, but after a bit of opening up, I caught clove and cardamom and cocoa. So here we actually have, I'm now at breakingbourbon.com. The finish starts with a predominant amount of peanut. I don't get peanut. Before caramel, light barrel char, vanilla, and a dose of rye spice are introduced. These settle down into a concoction of sweet peanuts and lingering heat. It may be shorter in nature, however, it makes for an adequately way of finishing out the sip. So as I said, for me, that peanut moment is more of a burnt licorice moment. Here I don't. Here's a sweetness. Here's a rye. Here's a beautifulness of vanilla, of everything that I want in a rye, and I just enjoy it. The only thing that can beat the Rittenhouse Bottled and Bond for me is the Jack Daniel's Bottled and Bond for the price, under 40, under 50 euros. All right, so this whiskey over here is going to be a solid C. Yeah, I think I actually forgot in my German whiskey video to actually rate it. A solid C. It's not a C plus. It's not a C minus. A solid C. Value for money over here for 47 euros is a D. If I could pay $27 for this, it's also going to be a C to C plus. What would I buy instead? I would buy every day of the week, even on Sundays, the Rittenhouse 100 proof Bottled and Bond instead. I love this whiskey. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful palate, and the finish is just adorable. Beautiful, beautiful. So my question of the week is, you have $40. A question of the day, you have $40. What rye whiskey are you going to buy from the U.S.? So lot 40 is now canceled. Can't buy any lot 40. I adore lot 40, but not allowed. Pikesville, $40, $50, never, ever, ever. So what are you going to buy instead? Is it going to be Rittenhouse? Is it going to be an old Overholt? Is it going to be the Bottled Bond? Is it going to be a Knob Creek? Is it going to be, can you get a Jack Daniel's single barrel over there rye for $50 to $40? I don't know. All right, thank you very much for liking, subscribing, sharing, telling others, and actually also commenting. See you soon. WhiskyJason over here from Germany. All the best. Bye-bye.